I thought that when I moved from New Jersey to Seattle that I was going to be upgrading every aspect of my life. See, I was coming from a beach town on the East Coast, and I thought Seattle, it's filled with water. It's going to be great. There's going to be beaches and all sorts of things to do there. But there was a lot that I was wrong about. And I want to talk about 6 things that really shaped my experience in those first 5 years that I got to Seattle. And the reason I want to break it down is because I think that a lot of East Coast transplants that are coming out to the West Coast, they really don't know what it's like to live here. But I also want to tell you that if given the choice today, I would probably still make the same move. So I came from a small beach town where being at the beach was the whole point of living. It had nearly 2 miles of boardwalk, no commercial noise, just oceans and lifeguards. It's really a sweet town. And that was pretty much my reality for 18 years before ending up in Seattle. Now, I knew about Seattle. I grew up in the 90s. Everyone knew about Seattle. But my town was called Spring Lake, New Jersey. It was a small coastal borough in Monmouth County. Has about 2,800 year-round residents. And the whole town is built around this 2-mile boardwalk. It's not commercial. There's no arcade games. There's no vendors, maybe a little bit. But it's just you and the ocean. And there's designated swim areas. You've got lifeguards basically just watching everything that you're doing. And the thing there is the Atlantic Ocean, it's warm, at least by East Coast standards. The summers have comfortable swimming. The water temps are in the 60s to low 70s. So my entire childhood was spent in that ocean every summer, every weekend. We were just on those sandy beaches or in the water. The thing about New Jersey is you need beach passes to get onto the beaches. You actually have to pay or have a seasonal pass. And that's something that I want you to keep in mind when we're talking about Seattle a little bit later. So it's about $12 a day per person. And honestly, it's kind of nice because it keeps the crowds down. And it's really designated for people that are totally committed to being on the beach. And I grew up in a very suburban area. It's very beach oriented. And in the summer, the area really transforms. Outside of Spring Lake, it's a party vibe. You've seen Jersey Shore, right? So, but the whole time it's got this very coastal town feel, and that was normal for me. And that's what I thought living by water meant. But here's what people don't tell you. If you move from a beach town, you're going to carry a lot of those same assumptions with you when you're going to try to get water access somewhere else. And those assumptions are exactly what set me up for a big shock when I made the transition out to the West Coast. Okay, so you have to keep in mind, this was like 2009, and I had some assumptions about being in Seattle, and I didn't really know what city meant. So when I decided to move to Seattle, I was thinking, okay, this is a West Coast city. There's water everywhere. That means there has to be beaches. It's probably going to be like where I grew up in New Jersey, but just a lot bigger, a little more urban, maybe just an expanded version of the community that I kind of knew. But here's the deal. Seattle is the 10th densest major city in the United States. And when you get here, you feel that density, because it's not spread out. It's definitely not spread out evenly across the neighborhoods. Downtown Seattle is pretty compact compared to other West Coast cities, but neighborhoods like Capitol Hill hit densities of around 20,000 to 28,000 people per square mile, with the most crowded blocks reaching up to 55,000 people. The U District pushes past 124,000 people per square mile in some areas. So what does that actually mean when you're living in it? Well, fortunately for me, I landed in West Seattle, and I was kind of lucky because it is probably one of the most beachy spots in the entire city. I ended up down on Alki Beach. But to get there from anywhere else in Seattle, you're going to be dealing with some serious urban infrastructure. You're talking about downtown shopping malls connected to a monorail. You've got the Columbia Center, which is towering 76 floors above you. You've got dense commercial districts that feel nothing like a beach town. So back in New Jersey, the biggest headache was just getting over a drawbridge in the summer. Maybe a boat had to go out through the inlet. Traffic would get backed up through the little main town center. But that was it. That was mostly what we saw when we were thinking about congestion. So in Seattle, I'm seeing on I-5, I-405, I-90. These are real highways with lots of traffic. But I want you to stick with me because this traffic reality is going to mess with your housing decisions in a way that you're probably not thinking about. And I want to break that down when I get to the section about why I actually stayed here. So Seattle ranks the 7th most congested city when measured for congestion level and 10th when measured for hours lost per driver. The average driver here loses around 66 to 68 hours per year to traffic delays. If you're commuting northbound on 405 between Renton and the 90 interchange every day, you are in one of the most consistently congested corridors in the entire region. So when I got here, I just wasn't expecting to be sitting in highways like that. I didn't deal with that or anything like that when I was back home. But urban infrastructure is nothing compared to what I found out about the water itself. So if you're seriously considering moving from the East Coast to Seattle, I've actually helped dozens of people understand exactly the trade-offs before they commit to any big decision like that. Because after 18 years here, I've seen what works and I've seen what people actually end up regretting. So if you're interested, my contact info is in the description below. Okay, so getting back to the water access issue. The water is around 52 degrees in the summer. That number pretty much defines Seattle's relationship with water. And it's about 15 to 20 degrees colder than what I was used to swimming in growing up. Seattle's surrounded by water. You've got Puget Sound to the west, Lake Washington to the east, and Lake Union right in the middle of the city. And on a map, it looks incredible. It looks like a paradise if you grew up swimming in the ocean all the time. But here's the reality. I want to talk about the temperature of Puget Sound specifically. It's usually between 51 to 54 degrees in the summer, and in the winter, it drops almost to 45 degrees. The Atlantic off the Jersey coast gets up into the 60s or the 70s in the summer. So the first time I went into Puget Sound, I remember thinking, man, this water is brutal. I'm never swimming in this again. And I actually meant it. I wasn't going to do it. And the cold really hits you. It's a physical shock, and it's not always refreshing. It can be pretty painful. Over the years, I've actually adapted to it. And I can tell you, Seattleites do embrace the discomfort differently than the East Coasters. And you kind of have to. If you want to get outside and enjoy the outdoors year-round, you just have to deal with things like this. Now, I actually go down to Brackett's Landing in Edmonds, and I love doing cold water immersion. It feels great. Yeah, it's pretty intense, but man, when you're stressed out or you're starting to feel sick, I swear there's nothing better. Puget Sound is like a built-in cold bath. I even filmed a polar plunge on New Year's morning. I went down there with my family, and that video did really well. People were interested in it. It got 25,000 views on it. So yeah, you can definitely learn to love it, but that first barrier can be very real. But here's where it can get worse. Even though you're surrounded by water, beach access is actually harder to find than you'd expect. But if you want a true ocean, like an ocean with anything close to what you actually think you knew when you were growing up, you have to get on a ferry, cross over the Olympic Peninsula, and that's like a 3 to 4 hour long trip. And when you do finally get there, it is absolutely so beautiful, breathtaking, it's stunning. It's this rugged coastline. I've gone out there and I've hiked it, and I've done the whole river hike. I've camped on those beaches with fires going. It's spectacular. It reminds me of Goonies growing up. And I know you're all going to comment and you're going to tell me that it was filmed in Astoria. I get it, but it still feels like the Goonies. And it feels more rugged and wild, and that's something that you can't get on the East Coast, or at least in New Jersey, where you're going and you're paying for day passes and just sitting on the sand. But here, you're not just going out and casually swimming. It's cold, it's rough, the currents are strong, and it's a completely different experience. So if you are a water person, like I was, or am, you kind of have to adopt a boating lifestyle, right? If you can actually get access to lakes, the lake water is going to be way warmer than Puget Sound. That's the way to go. I've even gone tubing on the Yakima River, which is about 90 minutes east of Seattle. And it's funny, Seattle could be 60 or 70 degrees out, and then you drive out there and it's 80 or 90 degrees, and the river is perfect. It's brisk, it's refreshing, it's such a fun day if you ever want to go out there. But again, that actually takes some planning. You have to think about the day. It takes drive time. It's not something you can just do spontaneously. You can't just walk to the beach and jump in. And so that lifestyle doesn't really exist here. At least I haven't really found it. I think the water taught me a hard lesson in Seattle, but the weather has taught me a lesson that lasts for about 9 months out of every year. Seattle's winter weather presents a real test, because understanding what you're actually getting is the difference between thriving in Seattle and counting down the days until you can get out of here. People back east think, well, Seattle's just rainy all the time, right? Seattle gets between 37 to 39 inches of rain a year, which is basically the same as the US average. But here's what nobody tells you. Seattle gets rain on 150 plus days a year. That's more rainy days than almost every other city east of the Rockies. It's not big storms. It's not heavy downpours. It is just this steady light drizzle that's spread out across way more days. And psychologically, that kind of hits different. Back in New Jersey, we had real seasons. We had summer, which was hot and humid. No question, that was summer. Winter, freezing. Sometimes you had snow. Spring felt like an actual spring, and fall felt like fall. You could plan your life around it. You knew what you were signing up for. Okay, but Seattle, we kind of joke that we have 13 seasons. We have 2 seasons, we have 13 seasons, micro seasons. Let me give you an example, okay? So right now, as I'm recording this, it's February. It feels like early spring. The sun has been out, it's been crisp, but it's not freezing. And that's also not really normal here. Getting a sunny, dry day in the middle of January is not something that you can count on at all. So for most years, it feels like it's usually just one long, gloomy season from October through May. Or you get these constant false springs, these false winters, It's almost summer, but it's not quite summer. All these moments that keep you guessing about when the weather's going to break. Sometimes there's just no rhythm to it. You can't mentally gear up for it because you don't know if next week's going to feel like November or if it's going to feel like March. And Seattle's pretty funny too because they will put out extreme weather warnings when the weather hits the mid 80s. Meanwhile, back east, I remember summers pushing high 80s, high 90s all the time and had this brutal humidity. It just sits on you. And we were just used to that. That was summer. Now, in June of 2021, Seattle did hit a record-breaking 108 degrees, marking the highest temperature in 151 years of official records. That's how rare that kind of heat is here. Here's what's amazing though. The summer, when it finally shows up after July 4th, it's absolutely beautiful. Long daylight, clear skies, almost no rain. But winter days are significantly shorter. January brings the daylight hours to fewer than anywhere else in the country, with early sunsets around 5 p.m. and late sunrises around 7:30 to 8 a.m. So it's that darkness plus the constant gray drizzle, which creates this weird dreamlike state where you wake up on a random Tuesday in February and you realize the forecast has been the exact same thing for 37 days straight. And after even all these years, I'm not going to lie to you, the weather can still get to me sometimes. It's a real trade-off. So if you're coming from the East Coast where the seasons just anchor you year after year, I want you to be prepared for how disorienting this can actually feel. But here's where it gets pretty interesting because the same weather that messes with you mentally also create the same economic conditions that make staying here worth it. We're going to get there next. 2008, obviously, the Great Recession, right, was a terrible year. I needed a job. I was in New Jersey. My options were dwindling, bartending, working in restaurants. I needed something better, and something better never showed up. So I called a friend in Seattle, and he told me, hey, there's some really nice opportunities out here. There's some great companies. So in 2008, I moved. The market wasn't in good shape anywhere, but it was especially not good where I was living. The best job that I could get was to find a job in a bar or a restaurant, seasonal stuff, just trying to make ends meet. And the economy just kind of felt stuck, and it felt like the opportunities felt stagnant and limited. So coming out in 2008, Seattle felt very different. Even during the recession, you could still get access to real corporations. There were entry-level roles at biotech companies, tech companies, healthcare systems, real estate, tech prop, jobs that could actually start your career and not just cover your rent month after month. And here's what's happened since then. Seattle has turned into a major global tech hub. Amazon has its headquarters in South Lake Union, and they've got tons of employees in the Seattle area. Microsoft has around 50,000 employees in Puget Sound, and they are headquartered in Redmond. Google's got big offices in Kirkland, and the tech ecosystem here is second to only Silicon Valley. And unfortunately, since 2023, Amazon and Microsoft have made significant workforce adjustments, with combined reductions exceeding 46,000 jobs. So no, it's not the unstoppable 2010s anymore, but it is still robust, it's still diverse, and it gives you options that you might not get in other cities. The good news is it's not only tech. You've got aerospace with Boeing, retail headquarters like Costco and Nordstrom, major biotech clusters, and you've also got a world-class healthcare system. And in recent months, the unemployment rate in Seattle has risen, exceeding 5% as of late 2025, which is reflecting a lot of the broader tech industry adjustments. Here's the other catch. Seattle's cost of living is about 45% higher than the national average, and housing is significantly higher than the national average. As of late 2025, the home prices in Seattle are hovering around the mid 700 range, varying obviously by neighborhood and property type. And in places like the East Side over in Bellevue and Redmond, we're seeing the median prices being between $1.4 to $1.5 million. Now, the upside to all that is Washington State has no personal income tax. So if you're a high earner, especially in tax, those tax savings can take a real bite out of your housing pain. But even that may be changing soon. We don't know yet. But I can tell you the job market gave me a reason to come, and it gave me a reason to stay, even with everything else that had me questioning being here. And on clear days, I found something out here that makes New Jersey, which is very flat, look so different once you see it in person. In Washington, you can literally see a 14,410-foot volcano from maybe your living room or your car. And when the clouds are clear, it changes how you think about what's possible. Back in New Jersey, the landscape's flat. You see as far as the road goes, or as far as the block you're on. That's it. Your horizon is actually pretty limited. Literally, it's limited. In Seattle on clear days, I can see Mount Rainier. I can see the city skyline views in the distance. I see the Olympic Mountains, Puget Sound, I see the Cascades to the east. I feel like it gives me perspective, it gives me depth, and it makes everything out here feel bigger. And when you factor in the access to the nature here, it feels totally unmatched. Within 30 minutes to 90 minutes, I can be at Mount Si, Twin Falls, Rattlesnake Ledge, Alpine Lakes, waterfalls. Within about 90 minutes, I can be up at Snoqualmie skiing. In about 2 hours, I could be hiking at Mount Rainier National Park. Beautiful, unbelievable. And like I said earlier, I went out to Yakima with my team. We floated the Yakima River on tubes. I brought my dog. It was awesome. That variety is just something that New Jersey couldn't offer me. Yes, we had the ocean, it's beautiful. And yeah, we had some really nice parks and trails, but the amount of different environments that you can hit without making it some giant trip here is really incredible. And for me, the mountains opened up this whole new relationship with nature that I had never experienced. The problem was the people here. It's a completely different learning curve entirely. See, Seattle has deep Scandinavian roots with a significant Nordic heritage population. And I think that this heritage creates a distinct social dynamic where the direct, warm East Coast style can sometimes feel very different by comparison. Some of the Seattle neighborhoods like Ballard, they definitely reflect this Nordic influence. And the community maintains this really strong cultural connection in the community. And the reason I'm telling you about all this is because I think maybe it has something to do with the thing that people call the Seattle freeze. So I think it's real. It's a pattern where people are polite, they're pleasant, they do the small talk thing, they'll do a friendly nod for years, but they really don't let you in very deep. There's kind of a stoicism here. It's an independence. It's a more reserved way of showing your emotion. And if you're coming from the East Coast, you definitely notice it very quickly. And I felt like back in New Jersey, people were warmer. You're probably not going to believe me when I say that, but I really feel that way. I felt like people were warm. They were more direct. They were more willing to go past the service level. But out here, people are so focused on their careers and their money and their own thing, whatever the thing is they're into. And they're pretty okay with being on their own. And there's this sort of unspoken rule out here about like, you don't want to go too deep with people too fast. So what it felt like back then is there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, I'm from here. My family's been here forever. And now it's getting more uncommon to meet people who are actually from Seattle. And now I feel like you meet people from everywhere. It feels like the city is a total melting pot. But back in the early years, that first adjustment, trying to make friends, trying to build a community, when you're coming from the East Coast vibe, it's real. It takes a lot of effort. And that reserved nature really frustrated me at first. But once I understood how it sort of had this history of constant reinvention, it made me sense why change feels normal here and why tradition isn't holding the same weight. Seattle has basically rebuilt itself over and over and over again. And once you see that pattern, a lot of the things that you're witnessing here make a ton of sense. So if you go all the way back to the 1890s, Seattle was literally selling picks and shovels to gold miners. Then you hit the Boeing era, especially from the 1940s to the 70s, the whole region turned into aerospace. It was an engineering machine. Then you go into the 90s, you've got this grunge music thing happening and the city's entire vibe just shifts again. Then you've got the dot-com wave in the late 90s. And then again, the Amazon tech explosion. That's a lot of reinvention. And the Boeing chapter matters a lot more than people realize because aerospace brings in a precision culture here. It brings in smart engineers from all over. It builds research and development. It builds an entire system of solving hard problems. Then in the 1970s, Boeing hits hard times. And there's a famous billboard that says, will the last person leaving Seattle please turn off the lights? That was the mood in Seattle. But those skills didn't disappear. That same engineering mindset slid right into software. Microsoft moved into the area in 1979, and Amazon was founded here in 1994. Then the tech boom takes off, and Seattle changes again and again, and it keeps moving. The city has a built-in habit of adapting. It takes risks, it tries new things, and that creates a lot of opportunity. So if you're the kind of person that does well in a place that's always shifting and always changing, Seattle can definitely reward you. But if you need everything the same to stay familiar forever, all the time, this city can also wear you out, no question. Seeing that reinvention cycle helped me understand why I was able to make a fresh start in the first place, which brings me to the real reason that I stayed. Coming from a small town where everybody knows everybody, Seattle gave me a clean slate. And that's a bigger advantage than I think most people realize. I showed up here. Nobody knew my family. Nobody knows the story about who I'm supposed to be. Nobody cared what box I fit in back home. It was just me starting over. There was no baggage. And I mean, you could tell this story over and over. This is why people leave these small hometowns. They get stuck in a rhythm. They get stuck around the exact same people with the same expectations, the same old patterns, the same old people. Everybody just kind of expects you to do it. And even if they're good people, it can still feel like your life is already written by whatever they expect of you. And so I felt Seattle was very different. You could build whatever you wanted to build. You could try some new things. You could take a swing at some things. You could try stuff. And because of that, I actually started having some wins. And I'm not saying that being out here is easy. It's not. But I will say getting ahead here felt way more possible than it would have if I had stayed back home. There's a lot of introverted people here. A lot of people keep to themselves. So if you are outgoing and you work hard and you talk to people, you can stand out easier. And I'm sure my personality annoys people in Seattle. I'm sure it does, but sometimes it opens the right doors. It gets you into rooms and it creates opportunities just because you're the person that's willing to show up and be consistent. So do I have regrets about Seattle? Sometimes, yeah, no question. But being here, having a clean slate and having growth in my career, no question it was the right move to stay here. But I want to talk about some lifestyle things next because I think that's what really ended up locking me in permanently. What I love now within 3 hours is I can go from working downtown to standing in a rainforest to skiing, hiking, kayaking, exploring a rugged coastline. Show me another major city where you can just do that on a normal Tuesday. I don't think you can find one. But you're going to pay for it. You pay for it with the gray seasons, the cold water. You don't get all of it without a trade-off. And getting to go see a game is so easy. You can just jump on the light rail, get down to T-Mobile Park, see the Mariners. You can go to Lumen Field, go see the Seahawks. I think the transit access to the stadium district is so much better than what I had back in New Jersey. And the food scene here is totally amazing. It's totally leveled up. We have world-class dining. It's absolutely exploded. You've got premium experiences, chef-driven restaurants, tons of different cuisines, Japanese food, Vietnamese, Turkish, you name it, you've got it. So if you want a special date night to do something unique, you're not stuck rotating the same 3 local haunts that you've been going to for years. That part is actually really fun, and I always feel like there's a new spot to find. And the other thing I absolutely love is that the West Coast proximity changed travel for me. I can book an Alaska cruise if I want. I can be on a ship in a couple days, leaving right from the port downtown. Getting out to Vegas is easy. If I want some sun, I want some heat, I can go to Vegas, Arizona, California. If I want to spend a little bit more money, I can go out to Hawaii. I can drive to Idaho, Montana, Utah, Nevada, Oregon. All these iconic Western landscapes, they're all right here at your fingertips. And I'll be honest, the job market here in Seattle has taken some huge hits lately, but it is still strong compared to a lot of other places, and there's still tons of opportunity here. And for me personally, the housing market, even with the current price environment, still offers tons of opportunity because I'm in real estate and real estate investments. There's inventory, there's transactions happening, there's commercial investment, multifamily, single family, people building detached ADUs. So if you're in that industry, there's a lot to be done here. But this all brings me to my honest bottom line. So there are some things that I don't love. I'll admit it. I don't love the water access. I wish it was better. It's not what I thought it was going to be. The weather can mess with me. Every year it gets to me. The traffic is way worse than I expected. And the Seattle freeze thing bugs me. But if I had to do it again, I would have made the exact same decision because the opportunity here is very real. The access to nature is very real. And the ability to come to a city like Seattle and reinvent yourself, a city that's always constantly changing, that part is totally worth it. And if you've got the financial resources to handle these higher housing costs and you're in a career that actually benefits from Seattle's economic strengths, then it could be a good fit for you. But it's not for everybody. If you need warm water, if you need hot days, spontaneous beach days, stay on the East Coast. And especially if you need consistent sunshine, you're definitely going to want to look somewhere else. If you don't have the income to handle current housing costs, this market is definitely going to challenge you. So if you're timing an East Coast move to Seattle and you need somebody who's actually lived through it, I can walk you through what to look for, what to avoid, which neighborhoods are going to be a good fit for you. All you have to do is email me at sean@mcconnellgroup.com. I will help you find the Seattle neighborhoods that are actually going to deliver what you're looking for and which ones will probably leave you feeling homesick. The video I've linked here breaks down the exact 3 neighborhoods I'd target if I was making a move from the East Coast to Seattle today. I think it's the perfect roadmap after understanding exactly what you're actually signing up for. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in Seattle.